Hey, and welcome to the Wendi Cooper Show, Speaking of Age. This is where we have conversations with remarkable people over 50. And today we're going to have another wonderful conversation, and it's going to be with Blair Taylor of Taylor Talent Services in Los Angeles. Blair is a good friend of mine. He's been a colleague for many years, and he is a very well-known talent agent here in Los Angeles for hosts across the coast. No, I just made that up. Anyway, we had a great conversation on April 9th on Facebook Live. I thought I would take some excerpts out of that show, kind of remove our banter, and just bring you the best of that conversation. I do kick off the show by asking Blair to define what a host is, and then we kind of get into talking about the difference between hosting influencers deals, what to expect, how much work it is, kind of what the difference is. So anyway, it's a fun time, and I hope you enjoy it.
The definition is changing a little bit. We traditionally would think of a host like a game show host, like the Chuck Woolery or an Alex Trebek, or someone that would host a TV show. And I started representing product experts and product hosts, people that would host infomercials and host products on Home Shopping Network or QVC, and they were very specific to that need. It was kind of the yell and sell, the pitch person. Actually. And over time, that has kind of shifted from their traditional role of being a host to product experts who are actually taking on a hosting role and kind of taking that away. So the traditional host is kind of being replaced by experts. So you want someone who organically matches the product, that appreciates it, that uses it. People expect that. There was a point in time where celebrities would just get paid to endorse products, and that still happens. But quite often now, the celebrities have a choice, and they're given many options, and they want to. It's equally as important for them to match with the brand as it is for that brand to match with that celebrity.
Blair and I know a lot of the same people because we've been in the industry together for many, many, many years. Tom Jordan, who is a great producer and host, Darla Hahn, same, really great in infomercials. Then there's Forbes Riley. I did a show with Forbes Riley. I produced a couple of shows with Forbes Riley, but I did have an interview with her. I have a great interview with Darla Hahn. I have a wonderful, funny show on YouTube with Tom Jordan and Blair Taylor. Blair is going to mention Chris Steele, but what we talk about is it's almost like, imagine growing up on television and always relying on your looks and who you are and your talent as a pitch person, Billy Mays, Anthony Sullivan, and then all of a sudden you start to get older and people aren't looking to you to do those things to represent their brand anymore. We talk, Blair basically will, in the next segment coming up, he talks about that, and he talks about that strain that it has on them and what their solutions are for them. I find it fascinating because I find myself kind of in the same place. I was a host, I was a producer, I was a live shopping host. There wasn't anything I didn't do on camera or on radio. So anyway, this is kind of interesting. I just had to set it up for you.
You know what? It's really interesting. So for those of you who don't know Tom, he is the spokesperson for LifeLock. And LifeLock has been on the air probably for 3 years. And I think it's really great. I think it's great when anyone, whether you're an actor or you're not an actor, you can just kind of embrace who you really are and let yourself go and let yourself be. And Tom took a risk. He knew that would be risk taking to do that and let his hair grow or go natural. And people love it. It looks really, really good. And the thing that I think is really important, and I've had other clients who have taken his lead, and some of my female clients aren't necessarily interested in letting their hair go gray at this point, but they get gray wigs. They're willing to kind of dip that toe in the water a little bit, which has been really great. But also you have to understand that when it comes to television, we're still appealing to there's an older audience watching TV. It's hard when in someone like a Darla, who is gorgeous and she is in shape and she's fit. She's got everything going on. And then as we start to get old, those things that we may have relied on a little bit for our work start to change. And so rather than embracing the new change, we want to continue to hold on to that which used to secure us opportunities. And those opportunities aren't there, but new ones are there. And so you have to be willing to step into just something new by embracing who you are now instead of who you were then. There's a commercial out there right now, and I can't remember. It's this gorgeous woman. She has this beautiful gray hair. I think she's 70. I think it says her age. And she just looks just classically beautiful. And she embraces it. And I think I have a lot of people I know in the business that have allowed themselves to age gracefully, and in doing so, they definitely are getting work. I think the thing that's really important, and it's been something that we've been telling our clients for a long time, which is you have to get on social media. You have to be involved in social media. So those hosts that had very successful careers, 10, 15, 20 years ago that are seeing it kind of quiet down for them, have realized that if they want to stay relevant, they have to get on social media. And it's been one of these things. I think I'm 52, so I'm at the generation where I'm on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram as a viewer and as a stalker and not as someone who actively uses it. And I think people that are younger actively use it. People that are older are just not used to it. And then it's foreign to us. And so those people that are willing to jump on that bandwagon, learn it, they can capture quite a big audience, and they can, you have to be adaptive, and you have to adapt to your environment and the changes that are happening in the business. So the people that are doing that, like Chris Steele, are getting to reap the rewards of that.
I totally agree with Blair there. Yeah, you got to be flexible. You got to change with the times, right? No matter how old you are, you still have to be relevant, and you got to do what you got to do. You can't live in the past. You can't think that you're still 40 years old when you're actually 64. You can't think you're going to get the same gigs or get paid the same amount of money that you got paid at the height of your career. It just doesn't work that way. So we talk now more about, it's not keeping your relevancy. It is keeping your relevancy, but it's kind of like, how do you embrace your age? And why wouldn't you embrace your age? Because that's what you have.
I think you should match your age. And what I mean by that is some people, like I start getting gray earlier than typical. So I think if you're in your 30s and you're already going gray, it's okay to cover that up. I think if you're in your 40s and you're starting to grow gray, it's okay to cover it up. I think if you're hitting your 60s, there's an expectation that when you're hitting your 60s and your 70s, that
you're gray.
You have to look your age. By the way, not only are we talking about hair color, we're talking about injections. We're talking about that desire to age yourself down because people think that the business all lies in the youth. So I think, you have to transition all of who you are into that, the age that you are. So if you're in your 60s and you're still dyeing your hair jet black, I think that's a problem. Culturally, we're not a society that kind of embraces our elders a little bit in that way. And I was very fortunate. I had a grandmother who lived until just 3 days shy of her 104th birthday. And I was always learning from her, until the end. And that's something I really cherished, as a chance to really continue to look up to her and to hear what she had to say, because it was important. What she had to say was important. And I think sometimes we feel that we're stepping into a place where we may not feel important anymore as we age. This is something that comes up a lot. And I see it, and Tom mentioned it, and I've heard this from others as well. When they're casting and they want a beautiful, older woman in her 60s, it's really hard to find. And not because there aren't beautiful older women in their 60s, but those women are still trying to look 45.
The right thing Blair should have said was, I always tell Tom just to call you Wendi. Okay, so we're moving on, and we are moving into the influencer world. So sit tight, here it comes.
Yeah, so the first thing is the one of the myths or fallacies is that you have to have a ton of followers to make money as an influencer. And what I mean by that is that there are some very high profile celebrities with 125 million followers, and you hear about these big deals that they get. But it's funny, I actually had a conversation with a producer yesterday who said to me, I want to hit about 5 to 10 million folks, but I don't want to do it with one influencer. I want to do it with like 15 influencers, because when they have a smaller audience, they will engage with them more. They will speak to them. And I think that's really, really important, is you don't have to have, you can have under 100,000 followers, but if you engage with them and they trust you, then there's a tremendous value to that. Influencers have opinions, and you have to have an opinion. And just posting, like you said, a picture on Facebook and saying, here's a picture of a puppy, well, that's cute, but that's not an opinion. And I think the more people understand your opinions, whether it's about fashion, food, politics, the weather, it doesn't matter. When you have an opinion, people will attach themselves to your opinion. So I think your Instagram has to have an opinion attached to that. It's a conversation you have with that influencer ahead of time. What the expectation is, do they like it? Will they review it? Are they willing to reference websites, how to buy it? It's one thing to say, this is just a really great product, I love this, but if I'm not telling the person on the other side, how do I buy it? Then it doesn't matter. Then it's just bragging rights by someone. So you have to actually engage in the construct of how that engagement will happen with their audience. And it's usually almost like an outline form. We need this messaging with this kind of visual, and make sure we hit these points. And then there's a value to that. You're accessing their audience, just like you would access an audience watching a TV show at night. There's an audience, and because you're accessing an audience, there's a value to that. And that's when the negotiation comes into play. If you're going to be an influencer, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year doing it. You have to ask yourself, like, there's no shortcuts. So if I get hired from XYZ Corporation and they're going to pay me $150,000 a year to do my job, what expectation are they going to put on me? And that expectation is I show up for work at 8 o'clock. I'm going to work till 6 p.m. at night. I may have to work on weekends. I may have to work overtime. I may have to work at night. I may have to do things I don't want to do. Part of my job is going to not be as fun. But when you're your own boss, creating your own brand, you have to do exactly the same thing. I have gotten deals as high as $400,000 a post for multiple posts on one product. So companies are willing to pay certain influencers almost $500,000 per post, and they will write that check over and over and over. Now, the benefit to that, and what you have to remember is, if that influencer has a way to capture the attention, or has an audience of 100 million followers, and even if just 10% engage, or 5%, you get a 5% engagement, that's 5 million people that are engaging with you about that product. You can't get that on any TV show.
Well, no, you can't, Blair Taylor. No, you can't. So that was an episode, excerpts from Facebook live show that was on April 9th. It's still on facebook.com/C, the letter C, Spot Talk. That was with Blair Taylor of Taylor Talent Services here in Los Angeles. So if you're looking for a host or an influencer, make sure to contact Blair. He is the Blair the Extraordinaire. Anyway, I am your host, Wendi Cooper. This is the place where we have conversations with remarkable people over 50. You can find out more about me at wendycooper.com. Send me an email at wendy@mac.com. Thanks to Tom Orsi for all he does and this wonderful soundtrack you're listening to right now. And thanks to C-Spot Run Productions for another great show. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time.
Are you hot or what? You're just.
Nobody could see me doing that. I'm sitting
Anyway.
like this.
I'm like, ooh, if it's hot by the beach.